What a great crowd we have here. Welcome everybody. Yeah. Have a seat. Very good. Sorry. Mother and father and everybody. Hi. Okay. Welcome everybody. Hello. 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 Perfect. So Project Week, although there are some complications around this whole Project Week, we managed to somehow fit us in the building and get everybody here like we wanted it. So Don is here. Even hello.
What's up, brother?
Nice to see you again.
We're not supposed to hug, though. We're not supposed,
Oh,
that's what you were saying. We're supposed to.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Shit,
so
now we're on film.
No. Don't do what we do.
Actually, there is something, because of this whole corona situations, we are limited to the amount of peoples in the rooms and stuff. That's why it's such a big mess with all the rooms here and there, and sometimes in this room, sometimes in that room. That's why some of your ensembles are early in the morning, because then the rooms are still available, and then later on also the classical people will be here. So it's all a bit of a mess, but at least we managed to put everything into each other. Corona-wise, it's also maybe interesting and important to tell you there's a poster outside somewhere. We have this week, we have a corona vaccination bus at the Serneke campus. So if you didn't have a vaccination yet, you just go there, you get it with your passport, you get a shot, and then you get the appointment for the next shot 6 weeks later or something. What is it? You can get it right away as well. Because, and this is something, I don't know if it will happen, but they are discussing it in the Netherlands, that they will have maybe also the 2G rule for education. So 2G means either you're vaccinated, geimpft, or you had it, genezen. So if you have natural antibodies already. So only those two, like what they have in Germany now, and it's even worse in Austria. They have a lockdown there for people who are not vaccinated. So it's kind of heavy. But yeah, if you didn't do it yet, because I don't know, your own country is a bit difficult, you're not there and you're not here, whatever, but they have it's free, you don't have to pay anything, you go with your passport to the vaccination bus, you get it, and 6 weeks later you get the second shot, and it's fine. Digital proof thingy with it, and so on. It would help, also, of course, also with our education here. So the week is around certain giants of jazz. You already experienced it. Some of these giants you've met personally, so you can tell something about it. So without further ado, I just want to wish you a great week. Or ask us. Joris will be here today, and also on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday evening there's a concert in the Oosterpoort from all the guys with it's only like I think €2 with the student card. You already got the information and so on. I don't know. Okay. If there's anything, let us know, and I give you to the carrying hands to these two people.
Actually, I need you because apparently I need a microphone or something to make sure they hear me. That's what I'm told.
Yeah, then you don't need me, of course.
No, I need you because you need to help me find a microphone because I don't know what it is.
I'll just find a microphone. You know what? Find a microphone. You got a microphone. He finds a microphone. He's a singer. He knows how to find microphones.
Perfect. Hey, brother.
Yeah, thanks. If you want to say something.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
See. Good luck, people. Have fun.
Thanks, John.
Okay. So actually this will help because I can keep my mask on, you can hear me.
maybe, possibly, and I get to promote the school. Look at that. I'm just saying. For the people at home, man, I tell you what, well, first off, I feel like I'm a stand-up comedy club. It really sounds like, in New York, it sounds like the improv. It's like, I have to be back in the, okay. Skeleton walks into a bar, orders a beer and a mop. No, that's an old joke. A skeleton walks into a bar and orders a beer and a mop. You'll figure it out. A horse walks into a bar and says, and the bartender says, "Spot on face." Okay, no more jokes. Anyway. Great to see you guys. I've been working here. Some of you know me, and some of you don't. My name is Don Braden. Play saxophone mainly, and some other instruments, but flute and some other things, but mainly saxophone. And I've spent a long time in New York, and so I want to share some insights about that today. And of course, I met Joris in New York as well, so we worked together. Well, the program was founded by Joris and his team about almost 20 years ago. I think we have our 20th anniversary, probably next year, I guess.
No.
Or this year?
Oh, yeah, this year.
This year. So, there's a long history of us playing together and teaching together, and so I've been coming here to Groningen for every year since, except for last year, and so I've watched a lot of evolution in this situation. But the original concept was to bring the New York vibe to the Netherlands and share that with the students. This project week is really about that. So everything, my orientation, my whole mindset in terms of what I want to share with you this week, and those of you who know me know I typically come with a theme, oftentimes, for the week. And so in the previous years, and so this year, I'll focus more on the idea of New York professionalism and the New York activity, New York vibe, and try to get a little deeper into that and try to share that with you so that you can have some consciousness about that, because that is so essential to what jazz playing is and has been. Particularly if you go to the States and do some playing with some folks there, or want to tap into the remaining jazz masters, or even the younger masters who are still playing, the Christian McBrides and the Josh Redmonds and those guys. They all pretty much, not necessarily Joshua, although his dad's a jazz legend actually. And Christian played with everybody, and a lot of the cats in that mid-generation of which I'm part, I'm a little older than those guys, but all of us in this zone, we all played and apprenticed with the real masters of the music. So you guys, just a short version of who I played with, and there's a lot of people. I was with Betty Carter. That was my first. The singer Betty Carter was probably my first, let's say, jazz master gig. Then went Marcellus, who's a different category, because he's not those guys, but he's still he's a big deal now and was a big deal then, but different than a legendary jazz master, but still his own jazz master. Then Tony Williams, who's 4 years with him, 2.5 years with Freddie Hubbard, about 10 years with Roy Haynes, and about another 4 years or so with Tom Harrell, and a lot of people in between. J.J. Johnson for a year, Art Farmer for a couple of years, like a ton of gigs with just the real cats. So those of us in my generation played with people like that. He was with Benny Golson and a bunch of people, and Benny Golson is my mentor, so I worked a lot with him as well. So those guys taught us a lot over the decades, and one of the most important things they taught us is pass on what you've learned. And so that's one of the most important things that is part of the New York thing. Jazz has always been about teaching. You know why? Because throughout jazz's history, the real education really happened with cats getting together and on the bandstand. Until you had jazz education. Jazz education as a thing didn't really even begin until the 50s. And then John Lewis and some people formed this thing called Jazz Inn, and that was a whole scene. And Lenny Tristano and his crew in the West Coast, they had a scene with Lee Konitz and a bunch of people in the West Coast. That was a jazz education. And there was some other pockets, but there was no formal education, like conservatories. You were not allowed, as you probably have heard from people who have told you, you were not allowed to play jazz in conservatory until the 70s at the earliest. And for a lot of my 70s colleagues, even then, If they heard you playing jazz, they kicked you out. So I don't know if it ever happened, but they threatened it. So it was not in universities and stuff, conservatories, until 70s and 80s and beyond. So, but by then you already had Love Supreme and Kind of Blue and Live at a Half Note. And you had everything. I mean, the masterpieces were pretty much all done by the time jazz education started. Think about that. So what jazz education really is, or has been, is an apprentice system. And that's the key to the New York thing. One of the keys is to understand that part of it, that's why you go to New York. You go to tap into the source. That's the real. School is great because now you got some data, you got a network. So that's cool. Schools are great at data and networking, which is fantastic. This situation looks for creating a vibe as well to go with it, right? So then you have some consciousness of the nuances of what it is to be a jazz musician. And that, part of that is that consciousness of the idea that you're going to be looking for those apprentices. So the bulk of what I learned, I was an engineering guy in college. So bulk of what I learned about jazz came from Freddie Hubbard. Actually, the best lessons, the most important ones, well, it came from all of them. I mean, Betty Carter, the singer Betty Carter, probably taught me the most important things. Two critical key things that have served me throughout my whole career. The first one is listen, 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 listen. That's three things, actually. Listen, listen, listen. And by that, I mean hear everything, right? And listening is more important than playing in most cases. Because if you're playing without listening, we already know it's not going to work, right? So listening is crucial, both in terms of learning the language of the music, but also on the bandstand itself. Number two, always swing. Like, be completely conscious of the rhythm. Now, swing in the broadest sense, which means essentially groove, right? Because we know we play different kinds of grooves. Always groove. Always be conscious of where if you choose to play out of time, you choose to do that, that's cool. You can be rubato and whatever, but in general, jazz is dance music, right? We know that from checking out history. And it still is, should be, right? That's where it comes from. So we want to be conscious of that part of it. So swing. So me, I'm a tenor player, right? Which means millions of notes and blah, blah, blah. She's like, what are you doing? And I can't even quote, her language is too colorful for me to say in school and all over the internet. Oh, one time I wrote an article. I got interviewed for one of the magazines. I think it was Jazz Times, and I was cursing a little bit, because we were just talking like jazz guys. It was an interviewer, and I was saying some stuff like, beep, 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 you beep it, and in the States they beep it, they put some beeps in there like rap music or whatever, or block it out. But this is an interview, so I was just talking like, I thought for sure the cat would edit me and cut out the curses. Well, he didn't. So I got a call from Jamie Ebersold, who's one of the great educators, who's also my mentor. And Jamie started doing education in the 60s and 70s and stuff. He's an incredible cat. But he called me and he said, man, what's up with all the cursing? I was like, he was home by I was like, and Jamie Ebersold is like that guy who, like your dad, who won't scream at you. Well, my dad would scream every once in a while. Most of my dad would not scream at you. He'd just speak in a way that make you feel terrible. You know what I mean? Man, what are you doing? Oh, God. Now I feel like this big. So I learned a lesson about watching my language, and particularly in media situations. But Betty Carter used very colorful language with me, but the point of that is that she drove her point home, which is swing. The other third point. So listen, swing. Third, don't play all the time. And that's something that all you guys can really just look for those moments when you don't have to play all the time. Look for those moments when you can leave some space. It'll allow you to listen better. And from a textural perspective in the music, it can transform the music itself. And so that's my three things I learned from Betty Carter that I want to share with you. That was in every master, Tony Williams, I learned lots of things from all of them. So maybe throughout the week, I'll share various things with you about just specific lessons from the masters. But that apprenticeship, those three things, were more valuable than all the chord and scale stuff in terms of making great music. Now I needed the chord and scale stuff as well, which Jamie's thing was chords and scales, so gosh, Thank God for that, because I got really good at chords and scales. That has served me. I can't tell you how many. I mean, I know some people don't like chords, teachers and whatever. I'm like, my thing, and what I find, what you're going to find in New York is this whole range of approaches of playing and philosophies about music. And just like with the jazz masters, people sound really different because they look at music really differently, and that's really good. The thing you have to do is understand that, number one, my philosophy is it's all good, in a way, in the sense that there's going to be certain things that really work for you, and other things that won't work for you, and some things you might not be ready for, and you'll become ready for. But when you're open to the possibilities of different points of view, that's hugely helpful in your total journey. So just be ready and open enough for that part. You don't have to lock in or lock out. Oh, scales are this. I mean, I'm like, if scales will help you, use them. I think scales are very helpful. I'm a big fan of learning them and being conscious, even if I don't think about them. Being very skilled with scales is super helpful in the real world playing jazz and playing music. And so that's a Jamie thing. Other people don't necessarily think that way, but that's the big lesson I learned from Jamie Abersholt. So, and like I said, there's other masters, which again, another time I'll go deeper into that. I think what I want to do in a second, if yours is still here, we'll play something for you. Oh, there it is. He's doing business because there's a lot of business, as you know, with this change of Corona. There's a lot of adaptation that we have to do. Let me see. So, apprenticeship.
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Apprenticeship is really the key, though, and so that's one of the most valuable things about New York. And guess what? You can start now because you have master players among the teachers here. If you can look at them not so much as your teachers or as those people in the classroom that are torturing you, as oftentimes schools will make you feel. I know I felt that way when I was a student. I felt like our teacher was like, oh God, the old man's gonna be on my butt again, about this or about that. Try to get around that, because that's a normal response, emotional response, and I get that, of course. But if you check out some of your teachers and just dig into some of their history, you're going to find in some of their cases real stuff that you can ask them about that can open that door to the concept of you approaching them like an apprentice would approach a master. Getting outside, what assignment that's due next Tuesday, and getting outside the grade and all that stuff. Just a mindset of, what can you teach me about this music or about life that will help me in my journey? That mindset is the most important mindset of a person to learn this music, because that's what drove the whole music until universities. So in other words, universities came much later. The music was super mature by the time it got to universities, right? So that thing is literally Benny Golson going up under Charlie Parker and just, or Wynn Kelly going up under, going and checking out Art Tatum, like that. Like that's how cats learn this music. And so the university thing is great because it's efficient, so it's in data and everything and networking. But the actual vibe of the music comes from this more personal kind of interaction. Does that make sense? So that's my kind of a big lesson to you. So you're going to get some people here through the week, myself included, but other ones through the week that will have played with and will have gotten this data, this knowledge passed on. So data, but also wisdom that goes with it. The wisdom is the key. That make sense? That's what I want you to seek for this week. And I want you from this point forward. The whole point to go to New York is to seek wisdom. That's really the point. Yeah, okay, find some gigs and maybe you can interact with this and interact with that one. But the point of the interactions is to get the wisdom and to get gigs and stuff, because along with that comes all the good stuff, all the fun stuff. So you don't have to just be this kind of grasshopper, as they say in the movies, and the sensei is, you've got to. It's not really about that. It's more like this interaction that really happens. And if you bring your kind of proactive, curious journey and your goals to the situation, then that is the thing that will give you the ability to interact in a very fruitful way. And that's where you learn the deepest lessons, or the most applicable, or just a collection, an addition to what maybe you've already learned a ton of lessons and you're cool. But sometimes, that Betty Carter, man, I knew a lot of notes as a kid. And she's like, don't play so, what are you playing so much for? And I was like, yeah, why am I playing so much? I'm a tenor player, you played a lot. Yeah, but not now. And I just looked at it on a professional level. Like the record we made together, we were on a record together called Look What I Got. Well, her first record for her, and that record won a Grammy. Now, the point is that the presentation that she guided all of us, we were all pups. All of us were, Benny Green, we were all in our 20s doing this record. Like 22, like I'm young, 23, like young. You know, Benny's about my age, so he's 22. When Art Harper's a little older than us, maybe 23, 24, whatever. We're babies. But she guided us, and we won a Grammy for the record. So it's not only, and it's a beautiful music too, most importantly, but it got acknowledged professionally. So this is not just some stuff that the old man is saying, okay, yeah, philosophy, blah, blah, blah. It's also practical, professional stuff. I mean, we did this through her guidance, and then we got the acknowledgement, and that turned into work for everybody. So this is not just some stuff that's, I wrote a book and I'm selling my book, or I'm, this is, it comes from real world experience that has the real world results that we're trying to get to. And that's what I really want you guys to be proactive in seeking. That make sense? Seek that. Try to find that, because you get that, and whatever version it is from whoever you get it. And remember, everything won't feel right and feel like I was like, what? I can't play? But then once I got through my head and got, then it was like, oh. And then to this day, I worked with a singer just over the weekend, and she was like, wow. What? And I just said Betty Carter. That's all I had to say. She said, oh, cool. She knew where I got it from. So that makes sense? Yeah. All right, so we're gonna play. He's all tuned up. Let's play something, and then we'll see if we can find something to play for you. I'll take off my mask so you can see I actually have a real face. You wonder if people have a real face under the mask. I actually do. So I'm gonna grab my horn. Let's see what we do. So you guys know this tape. Put your hands together. So yours. Never mind. Yeah. Oh, you're talking?
While you're all here, I want you to put, there's some very special people in the room here. Maybe put your hands together for Vanessa Rubin. He just left. Leo Genovese was here, but we can clap for him anyway. Leo. We'll meet them later.
tune, right? Yeah. We weren't 100% sure at first, but he peeped me pretty quick. I guess I played just the notes that because he knows me well, of course. And so we played together a long time. And so.
Just 29 years.
Only 29 years. Yeah, it's a lot of years. And so he was able to feel where I was going. And this is not a tune that's on any of our records or anything. We haven't played it together that much either, but he knows me well enough, he knows my thought process, that he was able to figure out, where to go, which is kind of cool. But yeah, if you have any questions, any thoughts, I mean, it's kind of cool to hear if you want to. Oh, I should have the mic, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, oh, there we go. Yeah, so 2 saxophonists walk into a bar, no. So if you have any thoughts or questions, yeah, maybe now's a good time to about anything we talked about, either the New York thing or what we just played. We'd be glad to break some stuff down for you if you're curious about something specific. What you got, my man?
Well, you just said about different philosophies.
Yeah.
You named one, but can you name more?
Sure. Actually, that's great. That's a great question. Different philosophies. So, and yours can probably jump in on this as well. So, there's one simple example is the collection of natural players, what they call themselves natural, and like George Benson, Dr. Lonnie Smith, like who don't think about scales and stuff. They just kind of play. They play the same stuff, but they don't think of it that way. I don't fully understand how they do it, but if you ever played with them, of course you've heard them, it's stunning what they do. Dr. Lonnie Smith is stunning. George Benson is stunning, like what he does. And so they don't think in terms of necessarily chords and scales, and I mean they know all the stuff because they know it. They can play it. And I've played with Lonnie Smith many times. And you could call a tune, you could tell him chords, and he would know what to do, but he isn't thinking it in those terms. Like I would be thinking about chord progressions, and I'm a very harmony-oriented guy, so I'm a piano guy, and I'm thinking, a lot about piano and substitutions, perhaps. There might be some. And when I'm playing, I don't think any of that stuff. I should point that out. If I'm playing, it's really rare for me to think specifically. Most of the time, I am just in the space of trying to be open and be a kind of a conduit to the creative forces that really kind of join us all. And I think jazz is driven by that, by the fact that we have some special things about us that connect us, that go beyond our brains and our minds and our fingers and stuff, our souls and spirits and our collective unconscious and however you want to describe it. But those things give rise to other kinds of creativity, and so which might open another territory. If we're looking at even something like a Love Supreme, right? Like Coltrane. Coltrane was not playing, particularly Love Supreme, was not playing from a place of harmony, chords, and scales per se. That was more about emotion and spirituality and acknowledgement and expression of his faith and expression of his depth of spirituality, right? So it had nothing to do, for the most part. If you look at those tunes on paper, you can put all acknowledgement, resolution, pursuance. You put them all on one sheet of paper, the chords, for the whole record, on one sheet of paper, and not even fill it up. So it's not at all about chord scales at all. Like the way he plays is you could overlay the scalar chordal concept, maybe, but I doubt he was thinking that. I don't know, I wasn't there, but that was approached from a place of let me just acknowledge and tap into the creative force from his, and I'm not talking about religion either. I'm talking about whatever he was dealing with from a pure spiritual perspective, not like scripture and stuff like that, but moral. I mean, actually maybe a little bit scripture perhaps in his case, but not necessarily, not likely. It was really more about this tapping into the great light that connects us all, and whatever that is, whatever you call it, and expressing that. So that's another, there's two right there. But I think other people, yours might know, like David Benning, I think he has a system of some sort, and this is like Dave Liebman has a system with idiochromatic concept. Jerry Coker would always talk about, it was a scalar chordal thing in his case, but Jerry Coker would like sometimes you've heard us talk about Moses, the ascending melodic minor, as a way to describe a collection of harmonic tools for improvisation, right? You know what I'm talking about, ascending melodic minor modes? Well, what Jerry Coker would say is Lydian augmented modes. So he wrote a whole book about the linear augmented scale. And it was like the melodic minor was the sixth mode of the linear augmented scale. That's what he thought about it. You dig? So that's another kind of way to package. It's just the same kind of thing in a way, but it's packaged a different way. And what's cool is that if you look at C melodic minor as E flat linear augmented, you're going to hit it a slightly different way. Dave Stryker wrote a whole book called the minor sub approach. The minor sub means you play everything like minor, everything like Dorian minor. So if you're in major, F major, you're playing G minor. You're not playing F major, you're playing G minor. Approach it that way. You're playing C7, you're playing G minor. You know, B7 is F sharp minor. So that gives you another way to hit, you know, these are kind of specific harmonic approaches, but they give you these other angles by which to approach. By which to approach specific chords or chord progressions. You can, given this idea, you can create your own. You could literally write a book. I'm gonna make a book all about altered, and my thing is altered. So now melodic minor scale is the second mode of the altered scale, and you could make a whole. You know, I'm seriously. You could, and then you could use that as a way to create your own kind of little angle. Because if you hit it that way, we've all probably done it enough to approach a scale in a different, a chord in a different way, linearly, and it sounds different, right? So those are some examples. Is there a question? No. So those are kind of harmonic. Yours, do you want to add something to this?
Well, I'm a chord guy. I don't think about scales at all.
Here.
Yeah, I'm a chord. I think about chords, but not about scales. But you know, many of you have seen my video, maybe my lesson video. I see some head shaking. If you didn't see it, it's on mymusicmasterclass.com. And you know, I don't like to think about scales too much because it's confusing and it's too much. I feel boxed in. But when I think about chords and all the substitute chords, all the possibilities, then it's all open to me. So that's just how I think about it. But you know, it's very, like he said, it's very personal.
It's very personal.
It's the same music, but a different approach to it. So you got to find your own way. Like, there's nothing wrong about this to be a scales guy, you know.
Or gal.
But I'm a chord.
Or whatever.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know about the David Minnie thing? You know anything about his deal?
Not really.
Okay.
There's a few people that have other kinds of approaches,
I
but
know.
There's Calvin Scholler. I don't know if you know him.
I don't.
Piano player.
Oh.
Calvin
I know
Scholler.
Kevin Scholler. Sure, I know him.
Yeah. He has he wrote a book on the show. He calls it the Scholler system, and it's basically all about stars and how the sun is related to the planets, and that's how he thinks about chords and scales. Yeah, it's very
Wow. Cool.
It's very deep. Yeah.
That's cool.
I still haven't finished the book.
Okay. Okay. All
It's
right.
very complicated, but that's his way of thinking.
So, thank you.
see that. But that's. I'm glad you asked the question. But this is the point, right? Is that Kelvin Scholler is a great player. He plays really well. So I heard him in an arts band. He was in an arts band for a while. So I remember who he is now. But the point is that, as in much of life, there really is not necessarily a single way to do things. And one of the challenges of school, this is one of my big gripes about not this school, but school in general, is that they, do this problem set, get these 5 problems done. I remember my daughter, she'd come back, okay, I gotta write a paragraph, I gotta write a paper, it's gotta have 5 paragraphs. The content wasn't even almost the point. She said, I was thinking about those 5 paragraphs. I'm like, you should think about what you're writing. And there's all these different ways. It could be 2 paragraphs or 8 paragraphs, whatever. But no, the teacher wants 5 paragraphs. That's what the teacher wanted, so we had to, of course, get that done. But and in school, hey, look, it's like if you have a job, as we'll talk about that in another workshop about the idea of a job and how important it is to get a job sometimes, like a job. I had a job, well, I don't know if yours ever did. I've had a couple of jobs in my lifetime. I was a computer programmer for many years, some of you may know, wrote software. And if you have a job, then you should do what the job is, right? Just like if it's a gig. If you show up on somebody's gig and do your stuff, you might not get that call again. You got to play the gig, play the room. That's one of the most important kind of New York vibe things, is that professional thing of knowing when to put aside whatever your thing is, and do the job. So what I'm saying about school is if you're in school, yeah, do what the teacher, do what the teacher says, get the grade, do the school thing, and get the paper and all that stuff. Cool. Learn what you can. If you approach it proactively, it's a ton you can learn in school. School is awesome as a matter of sources for information if you approach it the right way. But if you fall into that thing of being passive and doing just what the teacher tells you, only that, and not going deeper into it, and that's really what I want to say to you about school, is that that's a trap that people fall into, is just doing what the teacher says. Just getting by and getting the grade and keeping stepping. That's, in my opinion, that's a waste of time. In general. Get the grade, but, dig deeper and go further than, don't just do what you're told, but look at how you can go deeper and you get a lot more out of it.
Can you talk about New York sessions at people's homes and how that's a source of information and communication and networking and all that stuff?
Sure. So, besides the apprenticeship thing that we talked about earlier, there's a whole world of what we just call sessions. And so sessions are like, we get together and play literally. And I mean play, like almost like playing soccer, except it's on the band, you get your piano and your bass and your drums and your horns and your vocals and stuff, and you play. And it's not about a gig, and it's not about somebody's wedding or whatever, and not about making money. It's about the idea that you're connecting with your fellow musicians and that you're sharing inspiration. And most sessions, sometimes the sessions have an agenda. Like my audition for Roy Haynes was a session. I went to his house, and Dave Dukoski was there, and Ed Howard was there, and a couple other horn players, and a singer was, I think there was a bunch of people just there hanging. It was a session. So I came and played, and one of the funniest things is today with some of the students, we played Red Clay today, and Red Clay, like so many tunes in the real book, is in the wrong key. In the real book, it's in C minor when it's actually in D flat minor. So, and one of the tunes in the session was, and I learned a big lesson from this, it was Equinox. Of course, Equinox is in their old real book is also in the wrong key. It's in C minor, and of course it's in D flat minor. So, but I didn't know that. I was a Harvard kid. This is 1987. I'm still 24 years old. A Harvard geek, essentially, a computer guy who plays saxophone pretty well, or a saxophone guy who does programming pretty well, whatever it is. But I was there, and so then it was like, okay. So I didn't have I had a lot of experience in some ways because I was really serious. I am serious, remain serious. But there's still a lot of things I didn't know, especially at that age, and I'm still learning, of course. But so I got there, and they hadn't peaked Equinox in the correct key. So sure enough, I'm hearing it, and I'm like, my little radar going off. I'm like, let me just get in the corner and finger a couple of, oh shoot. And I didn't know it was a D flat, but that was the real keys. I'd played it in C a billion times, but never in D flat, ever. So, but the point is that was a moment of, well, the big lesson was check out the original versions of everything when you can. Obviously, I didn't know he was going to call that, and I wouldn't have known it. But the point is that was the lesson I learned, and that just be tuned. The real book was one of my first realizations about that part of it. But the upshot is this: that the session situation is so fruitful on so many levels. When you come and your ears are open and you go with the flow of everything, you don't have an ego or an agenda, you just kind of get into it. And you might bring a tune or whatever, but I mean, there's not an agenda per se. It's just really about creativity, and it's about having everybody super democratic situation most of the time, unless if Roy Haynes is in the room, Roy Haynes is guiding everything, right? So that's different. But if it's a normal session with just the cats, then everybody's kind of equal and everybody's sharing, and it's really special. It's super important. So many colleagues and friends, you've all done it already, probably. Met people that you have played with. Even him, I think I met on a session, actually. Was it a session we met at, or was it a gig that we met at?
August.
Oh, August, that was a gig. But nonetheless, though, we had sessions with a lot of people, him in those days. Like when we did our first tour, we had sessions with people, just had sessions, and just to check people out. And that's all part of the whole thing. So that's one of those a New York thing in a way. I mean, people do it in other countries, other cities or whatever, but New York is where they really do it. And so, because there's so many musicians, there's so much, so many people that want to play, even if it's not a ton of clubs there anymore. There used to be a lot of clubs, and there's fewer clubs. There's still a lot, but it's not like it was. But there's so many musicians now, and the schools are cranking out lots of musicians, so there's tons of people to play with. So sessions are like, that's where you build your stuff. You build your team, and you build your kind of jazz family, your jazz community. And it's super, it's a very important aspect of what I think we're going to bring some of this to you. Part of our goal is to share. We may create a few sessions, quote unquote. Part of the combos here is almost like sessions. They're kind of spontaneous in a way. And so the mindset you bring to that is, let's bring my curiosity and my openness, and maybe attune some thought and maybe a little extra. In this case, we have combos with around jazz masters, which means everyone should be kind of checking out who those people are and some of the classic tunes and that kind of thing. It's an opportunity to learn about Helmento Pasquale, one of my favorite musicians. Those are in the Helmento Ensemble, for example, or Benny Golson. I mean, everybody's all my favorite musicians of this cast of characters in our combos here this week. But Helmento is somebody that's really happens to be right in through here, one of my favorites. And so, when you check out someone that's maybe new to you, that's another thing that happens. And you can do it at any session in New York or even in Groningen. And this is maybe our biggest thing with this, is that we're here this week to share these ideas with you. The key is to go forward after this and use some of the concepts, ideas, techniques, inspiration to further fuel your own growth and your own activity. That make sense? Really seek to take the community. I just had 2 tenor players here just now. So, I haven't done three tenors of us were playing. I haven't played 3 tenors in a long time. I was like, why not? Look for those opportunities and keep doing that, because that's what I think one of the things we really want you to get out of this week, one of the many things, is ideas that you take forward with you that will help you to just become better, the best possible players and people.
You have 4 minutes,
What are we doing 4 minutes? Play a tune?
maybe?
Okay. Any last questions before we play one more tune? Okay. Let's play a 3-minute and 50-second tune. All right. Time is very important, by the way. You know that already. So we'll see if we can. Now it's 3 minutes. So we'll see if we can do. Oh. Yodis. One more time for Yodis.
For Don Braden. Okay, so we go now to ensemble rehearsals, but basically, let's approach it like sessions. We're gonna play together with open minds, see what happens, and get some music from this the legend, and work on this stuff. Like, see what happens. We got some issues with bass players calling sick and whatever, teachers with corona and all kinds of things going on. So we'll try to figure that out. But enjoy it. See you soon. Don Braden.
Morning. Status in your bag? I already got it. Any news? Any news from the girl? Really? You mean in the last several years or like in general?
I didn't see him. He left.
I saw him in the.
Was he? One guy came and got me, and I came because I wanted to see.
Yeah.
But I'm not working with him today.
No.
But it doesn't matter.
But I just wanted to.
Introduce us, yeah.
Yeah, introduce you and also show you which room. You have the printed paper. Yeah, I can show you where the room is. There's two rooms.
Where I'm going to be doing that.
You're going
Oh,
between
that
two rooms.
Masterclass.
Yeah, there's two ensembles at the same time.
What else? Your mass fest in here, I think.
You must pass over here.
Yeah.
That's from 3 to
Yeah.
3 to 4.
Okay, so
He can play for you there.
Yeah.
He's great.
yeah, Cass Costa's killing. He's a really great guy. Just really super empathetic and all that. Knowledgeable. Worked with singers for years. Super experienced. We've all been there. Even though it sucks.
Well, it was at the right time, but otherwise, see, whoever did the travel back in there did a horrible job.
Oh, really?
I had a 9-hour layover. I didn't even look at that. I didn't even know I was supposed to take. I had to put an hour. One kind of course. That's why my leg was man all the way to the last one.
I think we should play the percussion.
Well, you know what? Learn my lesson again.
I never did book travel for me ever. I was with my mom. Unless they really insist. It's never happened. Everybody said, "No, you got it. Do it, man. Pick it back." I never got burned. Ever. Pay everything and just get paid back later.
Well, you know that's what I'm gonna do. You know that's what I'm
Then you
gonna
can
do.
control it, because otherwise, you just take it or whatever, and you all kinds of oddball layovers. And again,
They had their itinerary was fine. I have problems with that. And but then I guess the airlines did a wiki waka on
that's what
the
they do.
change the fare.
That's what they do. Yeah.
And then they called back and said, we can't do this. You know. Okay, I
Right.
I it bother me.
That's yours.
To read it, cause I'm in New York, I'm driving, I'm trying to do this and that. I said, okay, 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 now I got to.
Let me see his name.
What time? It's 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, geez.
I gotta be here till.
Wow.
Okay. That should have accompanied without me, then I didn't get my bag. And I can see not having my bag.
Yeah, no, right. Right, anyway, right.
These are not bad.
Take care, man.
I'll just do this.
Yeah.
Well, this is fun to come to y'all's masterclass.
Yeah, good.
Once we figure out what else.
They give you some inspiration. Yeah.
Oh, I got plenty to say. The thing is to tailor what it is you need.
That's what I mean. Yeah, inspiration. Just the contextual inspiration. Not content inspiration, but context. You know.
Oh,
Now
okay.
you see what the kind of deal is. So.
But I think in this I need to get my kids started with that handout as soon as possible.
Sure.
So that they can use that, what's on the handout,
Yeah.
in the jam session.
Cool.
You know,
Sure.
just for mostly for the seniors.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Good. Well, I gotta teach in 8 minutes.
Okay.
7 minutes. Go figure out what I gotta do.
Okay.
Look at me here.
Now, wait a minute, so I guess I'm just closing.
No, you have 2 rooms.
Yes, okay, wait.
I'll bring you there right now.
I'm following you?
Yeah. And then you need to schedule.
All right, and then see you at. We'll see you later. Yeah.
No, no, actually. No problem.
Keep going. Well, let's see. I'll come to the ensemble and see what it is, and then we'll figure out what it is. But if you can't come, you can't come. Then we'll figure it out. All right, we can figure it out. All right.
I got mine.
Will you be there during the week?
See your name?
Yeah, until Friday. Okay, you play saxophone, I guess? Yeah. So we'll see who's there. We'll make it work.
B10.
What's the other one?
Ruben? 4.2.
Which is that Seraphon?
They're on.
4.2 and B10. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll show you where they are.
And B10 is right now. That's Carmen.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm participating in that, huh?
Well, you're coaching.
Oh, good.
And there's a bunch of singers.
Until I give them the whole speech on the aspect of believability.
I would say like,
No.
that's a big one too.
Oh, no.
Hear their
I
level.
would never,